This is the Hagmann and Hagmann Report for today. It is a fantastic free-for-all Friday. It's May 9th, 2014. This is a live broadcast. I'm Doug Hagmann. With me in studio is the ever-elusive Joe Hagmann, my son, fellow investigator, the other half of Hagmann and Hagmann, Joe Hagmann. Together, we are the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. Folks, you're about to hear a great 3 hours worth of information, news, analysis of this same stuff that the mainstream media, the corporate media, the captured media is not going to give to you. You're listening to the only show where the news is presented to you in 3D. And seriously, folks, and this is a call out there. If any of you are manufacturers of or wholesalers of those 3D glasses, might be interested in doing some business, we should do that as a marketing ploy to get the word out, because we can see through the people in the aviator glasses. We need to get some things going to raise our profile. That'd be one of them. Yeah, that'd be. All right. We broadcast live each and every weeknight from 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Can you tell I got some sleep? Man, I feel better. You can find us on the internet, HomelandSecurityUS.com. We're also simulcast by the Christians United Broadcasting Network. Thanks, Troy. God bless you, man. There, you can tune us in at the Hagmann and HagmannReport.com. Thanks for deliberately tuning into us tonight, each and every one of you. Thank you. Thank you for your belief and trust in us. We've got a lot of stuff to sift through, a lot of crud, a lot of disinformation, and wow, it's just an incredible task. But we thank you for being at our side. We thank you for trusting in us, and we recognize each and every one of you as a valued member of our audience. In starting out, I do want to mention that portions of tonight's broadcast, are sponsored by Nature Box. Order great tasting, healthy snacks right to your door. That's right. You don't even have to get out of your pajamas. Forget the vending machine, the garbage aisles in the grocery store. Get in shape for summer. Get healthy with delicious treats, and they've got a lot of them, over 100 of them, as a matter of fact, from, everything bagel sticks to any number of different flavors of snacks. You can support our broadcast and get 50% off of your first order. Go to naturebox.com/CFP radio. That's naturebox.com/CFP radio. Folks, by the way, working on a couple of designs for HomelandSecurityUS.com. If you're by a computer right now, if you're not driving, or if you're not, if you're by a computer, go to HomelandSecurityUS.com if you don't mind. That's HomelandSecurityUS.com. I made some changes. Now, just understand one thing. It's not populated yet with all of the stuff. Okay, for example, the link to the Listen Live, the link to they're not up there yet, but they will be. But that said, if you take a look at it, shoot me off, fire an email, or even on chat. I'll look at the chat log later to see what you think of it, if it looks better or worse. And I know that people have got recommendations. Like I said, it's not done yet, but what we're looking for is a little bit better readability. As I get older, my eyes get worse, and you know how it is, right? So, plus, what we are intending on doing is, there are a couple of things. One very important thing is the breaking news investigative reports are going to be very important, and so we need to have a smooth interface. That and Canada Free Press as well. But HomelandSecurityUS.com is where that's our home base. Joe, you saw us working on it. There was somebody working on it earlier. You were working on some other things. You were deep down the rabbit hole of certain things today, which I thought was amazing. I still don't understand what you're talking about. Folks, did you ever listen to somebody? I got to tell you this. Did you ever listen to somebody for like 5 minutes and have no idea what in the world they're saying? Okay, it's like they're talking like in a different language. I'm not putting you down. I'm not putting because
it's the same thing as
same page with you.
Understanding something in your mind that's complex and trying to explain it and spitting out partial sentences of understanding and partial gibberish.
I wasn't sure if I was listening to something. I didn't know if he was telling me how to fix my toaster or what the heck was going on there. But seriously, it was pretty interesting. So, yeah. Anyway, but thank you for working so diligently in your quest to solve all the age-old issues of the world. We're going to throw open our lines early tonight. Now, there's a chance we might have our Intelligence Insider contact. I was talking to him right before the show, and I said, look, you left a lot of people hanging last Friday. Trying to put the old guilt trip on it a little bit. And, slow, it had to start slow. And I understand, we've got people saying, well, it really spent too much time laying the groundwork. Well, yeah, but in terms of really, it's what he talked about applicable to today. It was kind of, there's some people who's got some questions. So I opened it up, left it up to him. He might be calling in at the second hour. If he does, great. That'd be super. And if you're listening, I'm going to shame you into it. No, I can't do that. He's one of the finest people I know, seriously. And also another thing, a piece of housekeeping here. Folks, we just got today in today's mail, and I moved it to a portion of the studio. Where the heck? Oh, here it is right here. Salvation, Angels, Giants, and Judgment, the Book of Jude by evangelist David Langford. I took a gant through this, and I got to tell you something. I didn't really know the Book of Jude was that interesting, and it is. And that's not to say that. I mean, again, I don't mean to sound trite or anything, but he put a lot of time into this, I believe. And so anyway, it's a great book. David Langford, the Book of Jude. I'm excited to read it. I have not read it. I've just skimmed through it. So that's out. And before you get into this, one of the things that I want to mention today, and it came out in some news today, Joe Klein. See if this sounds familiar. Putin's chess moves on Ukraine. Isn't it interesting that the analogy is going back with the certain people about this geopolitical chess? Well, remember us saying this back a year and a half, 2 years ago? Those were the actual words of our intelligence insider. I mean, that's how he described it to me initially, to get me to understand it. But here, really 2 years later, Joe Klein is writing, Russian President Putin is playing a multi-dimensional geopolitical chess game. This is something we told you 2 years ago. While the Obama administration, or the Obama regime more appropriately, and our European allies remain in a defensive, reactive stance. In his latest Ukraine gambit, Putin is playing the diplomatic offensive. Now, he offered what he called goodwill gestures. This is after a phone call with the Swiss president of the Organization for the Security and Cooperation in Europe, OSCE. He's also spoken with Angela Merkel. Evidently, Obama is not on Putin's speed dial for Ukrainian discussion, you think. However, they may cross paths next month in France at the ceremonies marking the 70th anniversary of the Allied invasion of Normandy, which both Obama and Putin said they plan to attend. And speaking of that, kind of as a side note, think about this. Think about Obama's disdain for the military, and think about his his tendencies, his Islamic proclivities, whether or not he's a Muslim or not. Think about him running through Arlington over the graves of the men and women who have died in battle, heroically died. And isn't that the same as showing the soles of one's feet? It's a matter, to me, it's a matter of respect or lack thereof. But nonetheless, as part of Putin's goodwill gestures, he sent signals that he intended to de-escalate tensions in eastern Ukraine by withdrawing Russian troops from the Russian-Ukrainian border. Now, he's also calling for the pro-Russian separatists to postpone their local referendum on sovereignty. That was scheduled for this Sunday, and he's trying to get that canceled. So what's going on in Ukraine right now is that. He also indicated his willingness to accept the plan for the Ukrainians' plan anyway, for presidential election to go ahead at the end of this month, as long as the Russian demand for autonomy in eastern Ukraine was met. Trade-off. That's again a multi-dimensional chess move. And Putin took up Merkel's suggestion for a roundtable discussion among the Ukrainian factions. Well, it sounds good, doesn't it? Well, what we're seeing is really just another set of chess moves by Putin. And he's taking his pawns and sacrificing a couple of pawns in order to gain our bishops or the other side's, bishops or rooks or knights or whatever, something for higher value. Again, he's a master political chess player. Putin's really done nothing of substance. He's promised nothing of substance. And he's demonstrated that he controls how much tension exists in Ukraine and how much doesn't. He can return the situation to high levels of anarchy if he wants, violence at any time. Now, he didn't refuse a referendum. He just only postponed delaying it, by the way. But NATO officials, NATO, what about NATO? I mean, really? NATO officials have stated that they have not seen any signs of Russian troop withdrawal so far. Well, the Secretary General of NATO said that he said as much, bottom line. Even if Putin does withdraw some troops, it's going to consist of really nothing more than the token withdrawal from the border that happened once before, and to prove Russia's military might and their far reach and their abilities back yesterday. Putin, don't forget, oversaw military exercises throughout the Russian territories. And what was he looking at? Nuclear forces. Intercontinental ballistic missiles were launched as part of the exercise from land and sea. But Putin is not content for his country just to be seen as a regional power. This is what Obama is saying. Oh, they just want to kind of gain a foothold in the region. No. What is really troubling, and what should be troubling to us, the United States, Russia has sent intercontinental strategic bombers across the Pacific. They've been flying along the California coast. And that's pretty provocative. Think back. If you go think back to the Cuban Missile Crisis and Khrushchev and Kennedy and the face-off there with the blockade and the one-upmanship and that killer scene. Well, what are we seeing right now? We're seeing Russian bombers flying with impunity along the California coast and without any response. So this is something that we have to take a look at. If you think that the Russians or Putin is just in this for that small regional uptick there and no. This is for all of, as W says, this is for all the marvels. This is for the future. Who dominates the future? This is exactly that. This is who dominates the future. This is about the oil. This is about the economy. This is about our military might. That's it. I mean,
how much are you worth?
I have no idea. How much do you want?
No, I just want to know what you're worth. Over 10 million?
Oh, my, yes.
Why are you doing it? How much better can you eat? What can you buy that you can't already afford?
The future, Mr. Getz. The future.
It's all about the future, Mr. Getz. And Mr. American, when you have as much money as the globalists, industrialists, this is exactly what we're fighting for. It's about the future. And I'm going back to last Friday's program with W. The people, the people of the Canaan lineage, the aliens, if you will, see us as the aliens, when in fact they are. And when I say aliens, I'm talking about the difference in bloodline, not the gray, big-eyed, bug-eyed kind of people. Just so you know, just in case some female blogger might want to take me to task and call me looking for Bigfoot or something. Anyway, yeah, that was a shot across the bow, wasn't it? Okay, but back to Ukraine. As far as the pro-Russian separatists, they said at first that they were going to consider Putin's request for a delay of this coming Sunday's referendum, but then decided to go ahead with it. So there's some back and forth pulling and pushing, and we don't know what exactly is going to happen. The appearance of, now this is Joe Klein writing, referencing this, this appearance of self-determination will allow Putin to say that he tried to use his influence with the separatists, but he can't force them to bend to his will. A referendum declaring independence from the central government in Kiev or desire to become part of Russia could then be used by Putin to legitimize his demand that the separatists have an equal place at the table in discussions with the central government in order to reform the Constitution. Folks, the bottom line here, that Putin retains the upper hand in the Ukraine. He's out playing multidimensional chess. Obama ostensibly appears to be playing checkers, and I'm beginning to really think that as I've been researching this, I'll have to get Joe's take on this, but Obama was selected for this time and this place, this hour, this day, this year, this period for being the front man, and of course he did a lot to garner the attention of Hollywood, the support of Hollywood, the blacks, the Muslims. And isn't it interesting that 7 years after 9/11, which it was, that we have a man with Hussein as his middle name as the President of the United States. And I say this often, and I'll say this again. If I was down in the rubble walking through that, over it, and I grabbed a first responder out of the rubble and said, hey, guess what? 7 years, President of the United States, the middle name's going to be Hussein. I would have probably gotten decked, laughed at, or decked. I mean, think about that. Now, this is all about the future, and we're seeing Obama being used in this very time by the people pulling the puppet, or by the people pulling the strings, for he's a puppet. I wanted to get that assessment of Ukraine in there because I do believe that we're going to see certain things happen this month that's going to be extremely important. They're going to be extremely important with Ukraine and with where we're going with this, with all of this, with everything that's happening in Europe, in Russia. You've got things happening in the Middle East and
has an article just on this, the new Cold War, Libya, Syria, and Ukraine. Syria's not-so-civil war has been going strong for more than 3 years now. Recently, news agency Reuters reported that at least 150,000 people have been killed in that time span. The figure cited by Reuters is based on data provided by the Syrian Observation for Human Rights, in spite of the fact that the source has been popping up all over the news media throughout the past 3 years, the process receiving a veneer of academic impartiality and respectability. Reuters' Mohammed Abbas disclosed in the end of 2011 that the organization is basically run by one man, Rami Abdulrahman, and from his two-bedroom terrace home in Coventry. It goes on to describe he is a Sunni Muslim opposed to the Assad regime, and it goes on to say how Britain, he came to Britain after they propositioned him the day that Hafez Assad died, and he says he'll return the day Assad goes.
Oh, they're going after Assad, believe me. And London is a big part of this, and people don't understand how the role London is playing in this game of international intrigue. It was America, London, or America, Great Britain, France, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, all having warehouses, storage facilities in northern Libya, specifically Benghazi, from Benghazi through Misrata, in northern Italy and Libya there. And they were shipping arms just as much as we were in terms of trying to overthrow Assad. And this was being done through the coordination of our State Department.
Yeah, and listen to this.
Of other intelligence agencies. Go ahead.
It says even though the obtainable goal of the armed conflict in Syria is to remove Assad from power, it seems abundantly clear that the reality of the conflict on the ground has been nothing but a proxy war pitting the West as represented by the U.S. and its NATO and other allies against the new unholy trinity of Russia, China, Iran over the past months. However, the straightforward narrative has changed ever so drastically that now war on terror has sped into Syrian territory, that the name Al-Qaeda has now assumed the shape of Islamists opposing Damascus regime and frightening Western observers and leaders alike. As such, this line of argument has some time ago received unexpected confirmation by one of Europe's senior political leaders, the French lawyer political Ronald Dumas, serving as Francisco Maderna's foreign minister from 84 to 86 and again from 88 to 93, made a cable television appearance last year on the French channel LCP, where he said the following: "I'm going to tell you something. I was in England 2 years before the violence in Syria and on other business. I met with top British officials who confessed to me that they were planning something in Syria."
Did you hear that? We verified that as well via emails that were sent out.
And we verified this through, not knowing at the time, through a conversation at the EMP conference we went to. And this is what we heard, that through a Bush plan, there were 5 Middle Eastern countries that needed to be overthrown.
You know, I forgot about that, and that needs repeated.
And he stated the following. It says Clark literally stated the following: the terrorist attack, so there were a policy coup. These people took control of policy in the United States, referring to the Bush-Cheney neocon administration, known as the Cabal or the Project for the New American Century, which included luminaries Donald Rumsfeld, Wolfowitz, Cheney, and it goes on to say that following 9/11, the plan to invade Iraq during the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan was, and they told him the government's plan to invade not only Iraq, but take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq, then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off with Iran.
Well, that's going to happen. And you're right, and I think it's so important to drive that point home. When we were at that conference for the EMP, and it wasn't really a conference. It was a law enforcement type of a meeting.
Yeah.
That was a closed, invitation-only meeting, and we were.
There was a presentation given, and
yeah.
You got the book, but you sat at a table with other people. I don't know, 6 other people.
Yep.
And we were sitting next to a mother of a CIA agent, and she didn't even know what was going on, but she gave us inadvertently the same information.
Yeah.
That they were working in the Middle East, but you wouldn't see the results of their work for 2 years, and she gave a kind of a precise timing.
Which, in looking in retrospect, I mean, thinking about this, my goodness, how little we knew then, or what we had no way to put this together. But what she said was, essentially exactly what you're hearing now. So they've been working on this for a number of years, obviously, as we've said. I want to get this in before we move on to. You think gun control, gun registry, gun registration, gun confiscation is on the back burner right now? Oh boy, or no, folks. If you're not aware of this, please. This is one of the most underreported stories around. I'm not even sure the alternative media has got their hand on this as much as they should. April 15th, tax day, there was a notice posted in the Federal Register that the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives intend on expanding the multiple rifle sale requirement currently imposed on 4 border states. And the 4 border states are Arizona, California, New Mexico, and Texas. They're going to take those requirements that are only imposed on the 4 border states and take them and apply them to every. Did you hear what I said? Okay. Go back to Fast and Furious, that illegal gun running operation of which no one has been punished. Titled the Agency Information Collection Activities, proposed e-collection, e-comments requested, report of multiple sale or other disposition of certain rifles. Okay, that's the name of this notice. It's a short name, right? It's been assigned OMB number 1140-0100. So if you have a pen handy, you can go to the OMB number 1140-0100. It's a 60-day notice abstract that declares that the purpose of this information collection is to require federal firearms licenses to report multiple sales or other dispositions whenever the licensee sells or otherwise disposes of 2 or more rifles within 5 consecutive business days with the following characteristics. Now listen to what kind of rifles they're going after. Semi-automatic, a caliber greater than, and the ability to accept a detachable magazine. Boy, I don't know. What does that leave? Muskets? Comments are encouraged and will be accepted for 60 days until June 16, 2014. So the the notice advises. That means that really, by the time people really saw this, much of the comment period had already passed, with most unaware it even began. The ATF website offers nothing. They offer no additional information other than links to the notice and to the various forms. Well, at this point now the question becomes, especially with a lack of publicity, public awareness, is the ATF attempting to, throw this under the radar of the public purview? Is this an action to impose on the entire country what they have previously imposed on the Southwest gun buyers and sellers? Much of it, all of it actually, over objections that could have been stronger, admittedly, Is this what they're doing? Absolutely. So what they're doing, folks, the ATF now is going after every state. They're enforcing, or they want to enforce requirements that are similar to the border states in every state. So if you live in Nebraska, you're going to be held to the same standards as you are a border state of the South. Any state. Those wishing to make comments, by the way, within the days that remain, you can find additional information on the Federal Register Proposal Information page. You just click on the Submit a Formal Comment button. Well, you can try to if you have gone there, and many have. We have found that several attempts were made, but guess what? No comment form appeared. Obamacare. There was, however, further instructions on the page the link cycled back to, but nonetheless, we've got to be a little bit strong in our comments against OMB number 1140-0100. It's curious that the only way to really register any objections is via email. The only way to submit comments is via email. Just something that we need to watch for. This is gun. Ultimately, they're going for gun confiscation. A couple of updates. Now, this information about this did appear in a column on May 6th in the Examiner, titled ATF Quietly Laying Groundwork to Expand Multiple Rifle Sales Reporting. Let me just see here. A couple of updates were issued. One update, which I think is relevant, should be pointed out, is that the notice estimates that the number of hours, let's see, as on the original, the estimated annual burden per respondent is an hour and a half. Well, I'll tell you what, folks. Just go over to the Examiner and look at the story from May 6th, or simply look up the Federal Registry, which want to limit the sales of guns across the United States. And a lot of people I've heard say, well, this is a good thing. Who needs to buy two guns in 5 days? But if you look at the ultimate objective here, you can see, at least in my view, that this is all about gun confiscation. This is the end result is gun confiscation. So, having said that, it's, folks, we're looking at some severe restrictions in the near future. And also, I want to let you know too, before we go on any further, just want to remind Joe too, on Sunday, Pastor Langford and Steve Quayle will in fact be here doing a special program. It's going to be I feel very strongly, it's going to be a very strongly, a strong spiritual program, something that we need to do. I can feel it, and I talked to Steve, and he can feel it. Pastor Langford can feel it, the need to do this program. And I'm going to be on a radio program with Pastor Langford on Saturday night at 10 o'clock called Watchman. The Watchman. I'll put some information up on that on our website, so you can check on that. That should be pretty interesting. So it's going to be really solid weeks of radio appearances.
Yeah, and reading his book, Salvation, Angels, Giants, and Judgment, he gets the message across what I was trying to tell you on page 45, and you'll start understanding, maybe not what I said, but what he says, definitely in this book.
Well, you did it pretty well. You did, in fairness, you did a fine job in explaining. Well, yeah, certain technicalities. I just wasn't sure where you're going with it. I read through so much scripture, putting together things based on keywords, and found some very interesting
finds, and then came to the studio, did a few things, and then looked at the 14-page Word document and tried to explain it to my father in Old Testament biblical terms, which I didn't do a great job of doing, but at the same time, it's a work in progress. So, but Pastor Langford, he nails it so far, up to a point, and I think he's in the right direction. And this is something I'll read this weekend, finish reading this weekend.
You know, I wasn't. I'm just wondering if I should get into this or not. No. You know what? I think I'll wait on this. I know people hate when I do that. I know you do. I know.
Are you talking to yourself, or are you talking to the audience?
What I wanted to get into was actually I had gotten some emails about actually after W was on last Friday about really the bloodlines of the Antichrist. You know, what they point to and who they point to. I have a bunch of them. And people ask me for my belief, and I've got a kind of a belief, and I think it's pretty well grounded in evidence. If you look at the bloodlines and the merging of the bloodlines, I would say, you know, just without getting too far into this, is just look to the city of London, or look to London, I should say, as to the origins. And when you consider the qualities required of the Antichrist, I believe that there are certain people in the royal family that fit that description, and certain people that just had a baby that fit that description. And the reason I say that, there's a lot. We could spend an entire program on just that alone, on the bloodlines, on the historical context, the biblical context, the what have you. But I think it's time to start looking at that, and perhaps we can do a program on this, because I think if we start looking at what's going on in Buckingham Palace and the I don't know. I just happened to see. It reminded me of this. There was a picture of Prince William, for example, posing with a goat, or a lamb, I should say. Dated May 31st, 2004. That's been circulating again. He's wearing blue jeans and a sweater with a lamb, holding its rear cloven hoof. Things are weird today, folks. Things are getting odd, and you might think, well, what of all the things for you to mention, why that? Why now? Well, if you look at how things are progressing, you've got World War III setting up, and I'll just stick to World War III instead of World War IV because it sounds better. You've had the London Olympics, which were extremely, to me, and to Nathan Leal, very telling of what is in the works and the plans of these powerful these families. And don't forget Prince William, since I'm talking about him. He was born on the summer solstice of 1982, the elder son of Prince Charles, the Prince of Wales, and the late Diana, Princess of Wales. And you've got to factor in the bloodline of Diana and what was necessary to kind of close the loop and add to the entire bloodlines. And who fulfills that? Does Charles fulfill that? Well, no, but with Diana in the picture and out of the picture, William certainly does. Bloodlines that I'm talking about. And of course, she died under some pretty mysterious circumstances. Even the most normal, sensible, reasonable person would have to admit that there were some pretty interesting things that happened there. But there's been staggering research that has been done that indicates that really there's some call it a Trinity event of the ages. Some that were looming for the 2012 Summer Olympics in London. Others say that set the stage for this event. And I think we're seeing I really think that we're seeing the opening salvo of this. And I think Nathan Leal was pretty right on target when he was talking about that yesterday. But we do have a lot of news to get into, and we will open the phone lines as well. 661-244-9839 on this Free for All Freedom Friday. Certainly, if you want to chime in with your thoughts, your ideas, what's been on your mind. We haven't heard from much of you lately because of our guest schedule. Next week, by the way, Joe, you did a nice job of scheduling, working backwards, of course, for next week. Paul McGuire is going to be on our show on Thursday. Looking forward to that immensely. And then, of course, on Wednesday, we've got Doc Marquis coming on, and Tuesday, Stan Dale. It's going to be an interesting lineup of people. And
and we got a few other people that are in the works. I know I just got a voicemail from Greg Jackson. He was going to schedule a time to come back on. But yeah, we're going to get the schedule filled up for the next few weeks until our departure for Montana, and that is on the 28th of May this month.
That's right. And
we got about 19 days.
We hope to see many of you there.
I'm shocked. Montana. I was thinking today, it's almost halfway through the year.
Yeah.
This year just zoomed by, and I say that it seems for the last few years, almost every year now. But it just seems like time is flying at such a rapid pace, unlike any other time before it. Maybe it's just how our schedule's been and all the things that have been going on. I know a lot of people feel like that. I hear you say it a lot. There's not enough time in the day. Like there's missing time from our days all of a sudden. It's harder to get things done. Whatever it is, it is, just moving so rapidly.
Well, I got to tell you, when I was talking with W earlier today, and I'm sure he was, I can tell you this, he was not kidding around. Yeah, he had a little time experience where he believed today was Thursday, not Friday. He said, where did Thursday go? I mean, seriously. And obviously, well, you know what I mean. You think, oh my gosh, it's Friday already. And you hear we've all heard our parents, no matter how old or how young you are, you've heard your parents say, the older you get, the quicker time goes. Well, one can argue time has not changed over the years. It's 365 days in a year, according to the current calendar used by the West. The sun, the days are still 24 hours long. But I've got to tell you, there's something different about, Joe, I really believe that there's something different about the time. And it's not just age, and it's not just the perception. It just seems as if there's an acceleration. And, I'd like to hear your thoughts, listeners' thoughts on that too, because it's, I do believe we're looking at a multidimensional realm in play. If we really understood how the universe worked, and I think we got a good taste of it last week with W. If you haven't heard that program, we're still working. We were getting reports. Some people are only being able to download 11 minutes of that broadcast. I'm not getting it. I mean, we're able to download the entire program via BTR. There doesn't seem to be any rhyme nor reason to the inability for some people to to only get 11 minutes. I don't understand, because we've had people, and I've spent time with people in email. They provided their system, their network information, their instrument information, and identically, one can and one can. We're working as much as we've got open tickets with BTR. We've got open tickets with other locations. So look, folks, I don't understand. We are as troubled by this as you are. So if you're one of the unlucky ones that only got 11 minutes, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I'm out of. No one seems to be able to answer these questions. And folks, the app for listening live and also downloads, the app that we've made an investment in as the company, and we'll give them their due if that's, if we're allowed to when it's time. They put a lot of work into it, a ton of work into it, and it's going to be a fantastic app for those who listen on the go. That's been submitted to Apple, I believe it was yesterday. And that's going to be good. So a lot of good things on the horizon. We are growing, and it's really I'm very excited about that.
Some news headlines, some stories that I wanted to hit on today. I saw this article first thing this morning from the London Telegraph. Decline of religious belief means we need more exorcists, say Catholics. Decline of religion in the West was created a rise in black magic, Satanism, and the occult. The decline of religious belief in the West and the growing secularism has opened the window to black magic, Satanism, and a belief in the occult. The organizers of a conference on exorcism have said. A 6-day meeting in Rome aims to train 200 Roman Catholic priests in more than 30 countries in how to cast out evil from people who believe themselves to be enthralled to the devil. The conference, Exorcism and Prayers of Liberation, has also attracted psychiatrists, psychologists, doctors, criminologists, in what the church called a multidisciplinary approach to exorcism. It says we live in disenchanted society, a secularized world that thought it was being encamped, where religion is being thrown out the window and being open to superstition, irrationality, said a Mr. Ferrari. The abandonment of religion inevitably leads people to ask questions about the existence of evil and its origins. This is another quote. About 250 priests trained as exorcists in Italy, but more were needed, the conference organizers claimed. Just in the Diocese of Rome, around a third of the calls that are received are requests for the services of an exorcist. So they have 250 priests that are already apparently understand how to do whatever process it is they do. And they're saying that they can't even keep up with it in their own little community. But religion, is it religion, or is it the connection with the Lord? Is it the spiritual journey, I guess? Some people say they hate religion but love Jesus, and I understand that. But this article, I guess, puts it as just religion. But they're saying possessions are up, manifestations. All these things are along with the witchcraft and the people turning to the occult or Satanism. All this is on the rise and on the increase.
Well,
so this struggle, this fight for the souls of men that is intensifying can only be for one reason. As time winds down, it's going to just get worse. And that's out of Rome. When here we have HGTV's Home and Garden TV.
Yeah, this is something that I think is extremely important for many reasons to talk about. Go ahead.
Home and Garden TV hosts speak out against agenda that seeks to silence men and women of faith. Recently, Axed hosts Jason and David Benham appeared on CNN Thursday night right to speak out against what they called a smear campaign against them by left-wing activists. Jason told CNN's Aaron Burnett out front that HGTV had vetted the pair when they, a year and a half ago, say some of the footage was my brother was saying the things he was saying. They spoke with us. They got to know us a little better, and they made a judgment call, recognizing that David and I have no hate in our heart for anyone. We've been running a successful real estate company for the last 11 years. We help all people. There is no discrimination, said the brother Jason. Brother David explained in the past remarks distinguishing how his position on is not critical of gay people, but against what he calls the gay agenda or culture. He goes on to say, "We love all people. I love homosexuals. I love Islam, Muslims, but I would never discriminate. Never have we, never would we." At the same time, he goes on to say, "Never have I spoken against homosexuals as individuals, but against them I speak about the agenda." And that's the point of this. There is an agenda that is seeking to silence the voices of men and women of faith. And Home and Garden.
That's it.
TV.
That's it. You could actually stop at that statement, because here's what we're seeing, and I think that the articles that are addressing this issue do not go far enough. We're seeing a classification, folks, that is all part of the in-game agenda to silence anyone of dissent. That's dissent of Islam. It's dissent of progressive ideology. It's dissent of the TSA. It's dissent of DHS. If you disagree with the current narratives,
and in some cases, if you're, you look at the Duck Dynasty fiasco with A&E, they were just drawing in too much money for that comment, or the Duck Dynasty guys'
right.
Beliefs, and basically stating out of a scriptural verse from the word of the Lord. He was suspended, but not really. I mean, it was a act of futility, because they weren't filming any shows during the time of his suspension anyway.
Right.
And they threatened to walk away, and they let it go. But these people apparently didn't have that same draw of money and audience, so they're easily disposed of.
Well, exactly. But please, folks, don't take this particular story, this Home and Garden TV, the brothers who are yanked by Home and Garden TV. Do not take this as just one, like a one-off type thing. This is part of this larger agenda. This is part of the campaign against hate. It sounds really great. You're going to have a lot of people just embracing this and saying, "Oh yeah, it's good because we can't have." It's what I mentioned yesterday during yesterday's program. The crime of intolerance is really at issue. No, it's not. It's the crime, folks, and I say this intentionally. It's the crime, the moral, the spiritual, and really the practical crime of tolerance. The moral and spiritual crime of tolerance, of course, is anti-biblical. It's anti-scriptural. The practical crime of tolerance, for example, is embracing or allowing the belief system of the Islamic belief system to, those people who want to stone someone to death or to cut the heads off of Bible believers or to kill them. You can't criticize that. Yet to criticize abortions is an act of hate.
Oh, yeah, I was so caught up in what I was doing today, I did not get a chance to share this with you yet, but I came across some papers, and I think I asked you about this, if you were familiar with this, basically a globalist think tank organization, and I'm going to open up one of the documents here, but it lays out a health IT future sustainability plan for the emergence of real-time data collection for health reasons, health and economic reasons, that governments will implement through regulation, and how they're going to have to, they did these different scenarios, they laid out different plans for different countries, and they talked about how religion and faith is a hindrance to this emergence of technology and global unification for the well-being and betterment of every person's duty to each other to get this done. And this document was just is amazing because they talked about how they would incentivize the health IT, however it will look when they roll it out, so people would who do get it would be rewarded, where people who didn't get it would be punished, and they'd be punished through the taxes, they'd be punished through businesses, and it kind of sounds. We
already are. I mean, this is already happening. Not with. I mean.
Sustainable Health Systems, Vision, Strategy, Critical Uncertainty, and Scenarios, a report from the World Economic Forum, prepared in collaboration with McKinney and Company from January 2013.
Yeah.
That's the title here. And I will come across here where it talks about how faith gets into the outcomes of what the goals are for the data exchange, or this push towards the health IT, real-time data collection. And it's amazing the language they use as they talk about how what they want to do is intertwine the economic and online banking into this data revolution, they call it. They say that there's enormous potential here, and the concerns they're learning lessons from successful sectors like India, who has went to a digital economic system, and through different electronic health records they've already implemented in different places that aren't, individual yet and mobile. And they are working with the World Health Organization, the IMF, and the UN to help the U.S. fundamentally restructure the regulations, policies, to be able to allow the health sector to implement this, and how it's going to change everything. And I mean, there's so many of these documents and publications out here with different ideas on how to, but they all have the same basic underlying policies. It says, how can we change the rules to get the public to embrace these innovations? Well, they say incentivize the innovation and
propagandize as well.
Change the rules, they said. The regulatory environment must be changed to reflect the reality of the risk rather than the historic norms. And I'm not even going to read all this stuff because it's just what you would expect. It says our cultural norms and our systems of belief,
right,
and the way we live now, and how we like our being left alone, our privacy, our freedom, our
you're not going to have that. You're not going to be able to have that any longer.
But they say we must be collective and embrace this multi-sectoral approach, and if we don't, then you'll be punished, it basically says.
Exactly. And piggybacking off that, as we are going to the top of the hour here, just want to, Joe found this. This is from last year. It kind of is in the same, just as everyone wants to consolidate centralized records, folks. I want to remind everyone about this. This is always good. It's always good to remind people what's taking place under the guise of the United Nations. Joe found this. This is from 2013, August 13th, 2013. It's United Nations. It's from the United Nations. It was released on August 5th, 2013. United Nations Office for Disarmament Affairs. Now, most of you have heard about this. If you haven't, please just pay very close attention here very quickly. There was a Disarmament Commission, Civilian Weapons Confiscation Study Group. Hear that again. Disarmament Commission, Civilian Weapons Confiscation Study Group. That took place in New York from the 29th through the 31st of July of last year, of 2013, I'm sorry. Now, this might sound like this is old news to you, but things have a habit of just creeping along under the radar until all of a sudden it becomes policy, and suddenly we don't realize what's going on. Very simply, it's a one-page statement, and I'm thinking about putting this up, but the United Nations saying the issue of the military-grade weaponry in the hands of civilians looms ever larger in the face of the global implementation of 22/Agenda 21 by member nations. In particular, the U.S. has an estimated 500 million weapons in the hands of its civilian population. That's weapons of all types, by the way. This is not just a static problem, according to them. It's a massive, dynamic problem for the process of confiscation, as there will be those who refuse to surrender their firearms. This from a study group now. The conclusion of discussions by this group led to the adoption of a proposed agenda to begin the process for introducing to member nations, and that would be us as well, a framework by which they can begin codification of national laws to disarm civilians within their borders through a graduated process. Now listen very carefully here before we go to break here. Within the discussion framework, this group has identified several problem areas that must be addressed, and here they are. There's 7 exactly. Number 1, classification of military-grade weapons to be made illegal for possession. Well, guess what? That's what they've been doing over the last 2 years. Creation of programs to provide reasonable compensation for voluntary surrender of said arms. We've seen that happen, have we not? 3, codification of laws to begin restricting and strict licensing of concealable firearms. This is happening on the state level. 4, I'm almost done here. Codification of laws to begin the restricting and strict licensing of hunting-grade firearms. In other words, they're going to tell you what arms are suitable for you to hunt the caribou or elk or deer or whatever you hunt, or squirrels or what have you. 5, codification of laws to restrict the sale of and possession of ammunition and components to manufacture ammunition. 6, finally, codification of laws to completely make any and all firearms illegal to own, possess, or use outside of military and law enforcement. And 7, lastly, the creation of a UN police task force with the specific mission of assisting member nations with the collection of weaponry out of the hands of civilians. Yes, folks, it's real, and it's coming like a freight train. This is the Hagmann and Hagmann Report on this fantastic Freedom Friday, May 9th, 2014. I'm Doug Hagmann, co-host along with my son Joe Hagmann. Together, we're the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
To the Hagmann and Hagmann Report here on this Friday, May 9th, 2014. We are taking your calls, but not from the studio phone. Oh, maybe. No, but we'll take a few calls here. Hold on. All right, I guess we have W calling in. We'll have to take W's call, then we'll take...
No, he's going to call in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
He called, actually, he did see the bat signal that I had sent out there, and it was a difference in time, the bat signal was. But, seriously, Joe, I had asked him to kind of tighten up or to finish what he was saying last Friday. But if you want to take a call before his call, let's do it. Or however you want to do this. I'm going to throw this.
Yeah, we'll take a call. We're going to take a call from, I think this is Montana, 406 area code. We're coming to you first. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hello, is this Doug and Joe?
Yes.
Doug and Joe, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to share a couple scriptures with you guys of encouragement that I thought might be relevant. I was really appreciated last night when Nathan Leal was on the show, and I think he had some pretty good perspective. But I was thinking of the scripture in Psalm 127 that says, except the Lord keep the city, the watchman waketh but in vain. And the reason that our nation is going into this dealings that we're going into is because of the iniquity of the land, that we have shed innocent blood and promoted homosexuality and other things. And I just really believe that that's the reason that God's allowed it. And I think that Nathan hit it right when he said that if we fight against, turn around and try to fight something, that we're actually fighting God's hand in one sense, that God's the one that's bringing the judgment. But there's another scripture in Daniel, when he speaks of Nebuchadnezzar, he said that you may understand, O Nebuchadnezzar, that the Most High God ruleth in the kingdoms of men, setteth up whom he will over nations, and he'll set up the basest of men. And that God himself actually rules in the kingdoms of men. And one other scripture there, a little farther on, when Nebuchadnezzar said, after the time was fulfilled, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted my eyes to heaven, and my understanding returned to me. And I blessed the Most High, and I extolled and honored him that lives forever and ever, whose dominion is an everlasting dominion, his kingdom from generation to generation. He doeth according to his own will. He said all the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing. He doeth according to his own will in the army of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth, and no man can stay his hand or say unto him, what doest thou? And that's ultimately God is in control of who he puts in government. Like Nathan Leal said, is that when we get a wicked government, it's a judgment on the land, but that the people of God are under another covenant, because God's judgments are not just like a shotgun effect that shoot everything. Though we will all deal with a lot of the consequence of this land, if we'll submit ourselves to God, the judgments that are coming are not against us, and God can give us a Psalm 91 covenant where we're under the shadow of the Almighty.
Interesting perspective. Very interesting perspective. Yeah, I do think that, not only do we get the governments we work for, earn, and deserve, but I do believe that the governments, because of the oppressive nature of some, look at Pol Pot, but let me ask that. Considering Pol Pot, for example, although we, the American intelligence agencies, put Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge into power into Cambodia, what about those doctors, lawyers, accountants, that were snuffed out because of that? I mean, what is
the thing is
go ahead.
I believe that what that brother said last night, he was right about this, that it says about the beast system, it says all are going to worship him whose names are not written in the book of life. In the end, you could be a patriot, you could be anything you want, but if you don't submit yourself to the Lord, you're going to end up on the other side, like it or not. You're going to end up on the same side as the evil men that are doing their dirty work right now, because ultimately there's only going to be two sides in this whole thing. But I think the thing that I really believe is important for us to see, I was a little concerned sometimes about this is their agenda, this is what they're going to do, this is what these evil men are going to do. But God said, for this same purpose have I raised thee up, speaking of Pharaoh, that I might show my power in thee, and that my name might be declared throughout the earth. That these men think they got their plan. But in Psalm 2, he says, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth, they set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. And it says, behold, he that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord will have them in derision. He will speak to them in his wrath, vex them in his sore displeasure. And all through the scripture, the promises of God against the wicked. Psalm 37 is so incredible. He said, evildoers shall be cut off, but they that wait on the Lord shall inherit the earth. He says, for yet a little while, and the wicked shall not be. Yea, you shall diligently consider his place, but it shall not be. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and delight themselves in the abundance of peace. And all through Psalm 37, the Lord's comparing the beginning of the righteous with the end of the righteous, the beginning of the wicked with the end of the wicked. He said, I've seen the wicked spreading himself like a green bay tree. And yet he said, yet he passed away and was not. I sought diligently his place, but I could not find it. For the end of the wicked is to be cut off, and all the transgressors shall be destroyed together. And these people have their plans, and they've matched themselves against the Most High God that humbles himself to look on the heavens and the earth and stretches forth the heavens like a curtain. And God is going to shake their world. It's not going to go like they planned. It's not going to be good for them, because wickedness is a lightning rod for the judgment of the Almighty. And there's a woman in India had a vision, and she said, and I saw an angel of the Lord with a hit list, good men and women in the world. I mean, there's things that the Lord sends one angel out. It's Hezekiah's time, kills 185,000 Assyrians in one night. So we need to trust in the Lord and under his shadow, and it's not going to go like they planned, all these wicked men. It's going to turn on them. It really is. The Lord's going to turn on them.
Interesting.
Very insightful, and thanks for sharing your...
I get that. I mean, I understand that.
Nathan, from the show, what Nathan said last night, a lot of it was hard for some people to listen to. And I saw, people saying how he was being anti-patriot, but he was just stating things as he saw them from a spiritual perspective. And if it offends people, then, we need to, as Christians, be more seeking what it is that, is of the Spirit, because we should not be offended by Scripture.
Yeah, it's ultimately going to come down to two kingdoms. When Jesus was, he turned to Pontius Pilate. Pontius Pilate said, don't you understand I have power to save you or destroy you? And Jesus said, you have no power whatsoever against me unless it's given of my Father in heaven. And the true believer can say the same thing. Nothing has any power over us unless given of our Father. If we're truly under the shadow of the Almighty, we have Psalm 27, Psalm 91, Psalm 46, so many promises to those that are abide in the Lord. And in this hour, there's going to be, Jesus said, he said, if my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight. And we just really have to make sure that when we're fighting for the right cause. We're not just joining, because God himself is judging this nation. Why should we fight to save it? God is going to save a remnant within the nation, and he's going to deal with the wickedness of this nation. And when he purges this nation, you read Henry Gruber's vision of the purging of America, and it's God literally cutting out the most wicked elements of this nation and judging. He said in all of the cities that were nuked, there were giant gay rallies going on. He saw it in his vision. Right, well, the cities that were nuked, all of the wicked agendas are going to be cut out like a cancer, and there will be a remnant, just like many men have seen. There will be a remnant of men that will yet serve the Lord in righteousness, and he will keep them and protect them. And he saw cities of refuge that even nuclear fallout couldn't come in.
Very interesting, and very. I don't know what the word is. I don't want to say jubilant, but it's certainly very. It's a positive message, despite all of the, all of the bad things. Look, thank you so much for your call. We're going to move on. God bless you, my friend.
God bless you guys. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for the call. Have a great night.
All right, as promised, we're answering the bat signal. Walter, we're going to bring Walter on. Just to let Walter know, it is Wednesday, and it's it's Wednesday.
Well, of course, you were talking about there was missing time from the interview on Friday, and then I realized, oh my gosh, and I'm missing time this week, and then probably most of your people don't know about it, but Sheila Zielinski, who you had on earlier in the week, I did Sheila's show last Thursday with V, and in the with 20 minutes to go left in her show, we were cut off. Her broadcast was stopped, and that was the last time that she's been on the air. And so literally the last word that I got in the world on her show was when I was speaking on her show. And of course, finally, going backwards in time, you'll recall that when I was on with you with Tosh last Wednesday, that during the course of the show, our signal got degraded very seriously. And so I jumped off the air, but you guys still had problems with your signal. However, over the course of the next several hours, my phone apparently had been spiked, and so my phone turned into a paperweight, and I had to replace it with a new one. It just continued to degrade, which was kind of indicative of some type of virus that took it out. It wasn't, it wasn't that old of a phone. It wasn't like it was some morphinite. It was Apple 6, so. Anyway,
man, I'll tell you, that's something. Yeah. Well, I just got to say, we got a lot of great response from your appearance on Friday. And by the way, to the people who were talking about last Friday and when you were on with Tosh about Tosh being on speaker, or there was another speaker open. I talked to him since that time, and no, that was a closed system. There's no reason for that echo. There was no reason for the signal degradation to be there.
Well,
it just is
and let me
FYI.
just say this too, in regards to Tosh. There is some concern about his situation. So we're going to have to kind of stay on top of that, and I'm not pleased at all with what has been transpiring. So although he hasn't been served, there does appear to be some other mischief afoot. So we'll stay on that. I don't like cry wolf, but we're certainly aware that that's not, that hasn't gone away. It just may have changed slightly and still have issues to be addressed, and that your audience will want to be aware of. If we got to pull out to the rabbit out of the hat, we will. So.
Well, that's good.
Anyway.
Yeah, and we're gonna stay on top of it. But your first scheduled appearance on our show was last Friday, and you had laid a wonderful groundwork for life as we know it, life as we believe it to be, I should say, and life as it really is. And you said so many things. The response was amazing. People had so many questions. People had so many concerns. Where, the mark of the beast, the beast system, the silicon life form, this all kind of corresponds to Steve Quayle's, what he's been saying, with what others have been saying. I mean, I'll tell you, because you saw the bat signal, you responded, you go where you think we should go.
Well, I mean, it is sort of all over the map. I mean, I listen to the current news, and I think your listeners are very aware of the fact that, just like you were saying, time is speeding up. Our situation is accelerating. I was thinking about your listeners may have seen this toy or some of these donation stations where you drop a quarter or a penny or something into this big funnel, and it goes down a little slide, and then it races around the rim, and it's around the rim, and then it comes around the other side, and then it starts to drop down the hole. It goes racing faster and faster and faster. And it's not actually going that much faster. It's that the spins are shorter and shorter as it's accelerating down this funnel. And so they actually kind of designed them so it doesn't go too fast. They want it to just kind of look like it's just corkscrewing down this thing. Well, the reality is we're corkscrewing down this thing. The big question is this, one flush is going to do it and we're gone as we circle down the pipe? The other comment that kind of comes to mind is, when we fade from the stage here with this American era, this U.S. era, will it be with a whimper or a moan or with a splash and flash and everything else, and some people seem so ready to just roll over and let it happen and not to fight, not to say, no, I'm not going out like this. We're not going to give up. And then other people seem almost too ready to do that, as though they're going to go out there, and the image that comes to mind, it's probably one that not very many of your listeners will remember, but Tom Cruise did the movie Born on the 4th of July. And what the deal is that here he is out in a firefight in Vietnam, and his buddy gets shot and killed, and he's so upset by this that he stands up and just starts fighting and shooting, kind of in a stupid way, that he just lets the adrenaline go, and he stands up and just starts randomly firing out to, send a message. And one of the other fighters shoots back and hits him square. And next thing you know, he's paralyzed. And so the rest of his life now he's paralyzed because he just jumped up and started to react without really thinking about it. And that's why in training you literally have live fire drills. You've seen the movies where the guys are crawling under barbed wire, and there's some of the command personnel are firing live rounds over their head so they can get used to the sound and the feel, because when a bullet kills you, you can feel it going through the air. It has a hum to it. And you get used to, you train, the old saying is you fight like you train. And so if you haven't been through training that is very realistic, then when it comes to the real fight, you won't act correctly, or you'll forget yourself or whatever. And that's also too when you have guys that have been battle tested, they've been through battle and they kind of know what to expect. See, that's one of the things, for example, with Tosh. That's what makes him so dangerous, that he went through all the gyrations of the investigative committees and their hearings and their subpoenas, and having his testimony ripped apart and vetted, and people that he talked to, and things twisted into things that he didn't say, and him having to hold the course through all of that. Well, he's been there. He knows what's ahead, and he knows what to expect. So he's battle hardened. He's been down that road. We're about to enter that moment where we really are as a people about to enter into the real conflict. Up to this point in time, you've heard the guns afar off. You've heard the racket and everything else afar off, heard about the far-off cities type of thing. But it's right here, right now. We're close to engaging. And as you and I discussed here a week or two ago, and I was thinking of Pastor Langford at the time, when and his messages that may be coming up, and I was thinking about when men would go into battle, usually, you think of a World War II or a Korean War type of a scenario. The ships might be offshore, and they would send in a salvo of rounds, or tanks in the background, heavy armor in the background, would do what they call softening up the line. And so they would do a period of bombing. Might be 15 minutes, might be a couple of hours. And those shells would be coming overhead and landing, and the guys that are getting ready to go right into that battle, usually it's pre-dawn, it's dark out, it's just getting to the first moments of light, because you want to be able to fight through the day. That's before you had good night vision and things like that, and so you'd start the battle at the beginning of the day. And that armor would then fall silent. And during that time, while the armor was flailing away and softening that line, men would write that letter to mom, letter to wife and kids. They would take a few moments, read some scripture, and make their peace with God, their Creator. They would take that time to just have a bite to eat, talk to the guys beside them, maybe a distracting thought or two, but with the clear knowledge that for them or the guy beside them, this could be their last moments in this world. And so they made that preparation, and they would make their peace with the guy beside them and with their Creator. And then with an understanding, afraid, but men, they would enter the battle. And those people, even in support roles back at the medical stations, the doctors and the nurses would know that because of what was going on with the bombing and prep, that they were going to be receiving casualties shortly, and they would make their preparations to receive the wounded and to treat them, and the padre would know that he was going to be giving men their last rites and holding men's hands and praying with them before they go to meet their Maker. And it was a very solemn moment. There would be kidding around, there'd be jest, there would be enjoyment, but there would be this understanding that this is not just any old day. And even for those men that were going to be taking life, there was an understanding that it was not done as though there wasn't some price to pay, even within their own souls. They're going out to kill and murder and break and destroy an enemy. And so their focus is total, because it's life or death. Not everybody is coming back. And not everybody is coming back in one piece. And so there's this understanding, though, that you may not choose to be in this battle, but you're here now. Like it or not, there's no turning back. And we're at that moment in time right now where I think these events, even over the last few weeks, have made it very clear that we're past the point of no return. There's no stopping what's just ahead. We're going to go through this, like it or not. So you got to gird up. You got to find that inner resolve, that inner strength. Make your peace, and not, this isn't about finding an exit. You have families. You got people that are counting on you. You have people that don't realize they're going to have to count on you, but they are. So even though they don't know or get it or whatever, responsible people begin to make those preparations for what's just ahead, because they know, even if the people around them are discounting it or blowing it off, don't get it. You know in your heart, in your soul, you know by your mind what is ahead. Your whole life experience to this exact moment in time is all coming into focus to this moment. And you know that this is what you were made for. This is why you're living at this exact instant in time. And you do your duty. You do the job. You do what's been laid out. You do what God has shown you. And you do it, too, with the knowledge that just like you have a guardian angel and there's other angels there to minister on your behalf as you come into this battle, there's evil angels and they've been assigned to you too. And they're hoping that you're going to make a mistake, that you're going to drop your guard, that you're not going to be willing at some critical moment to move forward, that they're going to be able to trap you, entice you, distract you from your duties, your role in what's just ahead. And this is the moment just before battle, just before you engage, when you get your affairs in order, you get your heart right, you get your thoughts focused clearly on what's just ahead. And for some, you're not in the main battle group. You're the SEALs. You're the Rangers. You're out there ahead of everyone else. And for them, the battle starts tomorrow morning. For you, the battle starts in 15 minutes. And if you do your job right, a lot of people will make it that wouldn't otherwise make it. And if you don't succeed, if you fail, they won't ever know your name. They don't know what you did or what your role was, but they're not going to make it. So your audience is really that Ranger team, that SEAL team, that forward group that's going in ahead of the main columns to do work, spread a message, make clear certain things that aren't clear to these people, to get a message out, to identify positions that need to be dealt with in a way that they can be addressed or neutralized, taken out of the battle. These messages that these people are putting out there that are undermining morale, that are distracting your church members, those messages need to be countered. They need to be spoken to. Light needs to be brought to those situations. Because as you bring light to those situations, they can't do what they want to do with impunity. And we're being stretched on so many fronts. Why? Because this is full spectrum warfare. They are attempting to dominate us in every single possible way, every area, whether it be the taxes you pay, the bills that you have to pay to just stay alive, how your kids are raised in school, the TV and the video messages that you're assaulted by every minute, every day, the subliminals, the spraying going on in the sky above you, and whether or not some of these events are natural or are being manufactured artificially. We're being assaulted on every front. And for most of the people around us, and even most of us, we just can't think big enough. And our only hope in all of this is, fortunately, our Maker can. He can think big enough to see every machination, every sneaky, evil trick and deed that the enemy has planned against us, that his minions have in store for us. And our only hope at this critical time is that we are connected with and sensitive enough to the move of the Spirit, to God's will and God's work and his servants, to be able to anticipate and apprehend God's gifts, his protections, his servants' assistance, his word in due season at the right exact moment that helps us to do what we need to do with precision. And this is that moment when we clear our hearts and our minds and our souls to prepare for that battle, to focus our minds and our attentions with precision on what's ahead of us without all the distractions of the world that the world would like to have. And to the extent that we do that, we and others are going to make it. I remember Dad saying something related to a transaction that was happening. And he told the man, he says, well, I'm as serious as you are. If we want to get this done, I'm as serious as you are. And that has rung with me over the years. I could just hear that from a divine perspective. I'm as serious as you are. You want God to get serious? Well, how serious are you? God's as serious as you are. And to the extent that we're a little bit whimsical, distracted, everything else, and I understand all the distractions of life, everything going on. But this is that moment, just before the battle, when we adjust our perspective, clear our thoughts, deal with any unfinished business, get our affairs in order, and then put all of our attention directly ahead of us where the battle is. You run to the sound of the guns. Where we see a problem, we have to go to that problem and address it and not walk away, not ignore it. If there's issues in our country, in our church, in our politics, in our business environment, where there is mischief and misdeeds being done, where we are being burdened, strapped down, enslaved, where evil is being put into the school system, or where some wrong is occurring, we have to go to that and begin to work the problem, address the problem, work the problem. It's like when a test pilot is in the plane. Some guys are better test pilots than others, and the reason is because when you get into a crisis, when things aren't going right, you have to be able to work the problem. You don't just eject immediately, and sometimes you can't come back and land. And sometimes you don't really know exactly what the problem is, but to save the next guy who might actually have to do the work, you work the problem as best you can. And
did you get disconnected?
Or perhaps you hit your own mute button there, perhaps.
There we go.
All right.
There we go. Sorry about that.
Let me interrupt you here, because Myra from Maspeth, New York, Queens, been there, love the pizza, it writes, as you discuss this, as we are preparing for the battle, what do you, emphasis is on you, what do you see the battle looking like as we prepare to enter it? That's for you, Myra.
Well, again, this is somewhat what we spoke about even some time back. Each person has a different role to play. And when you go into battle, there's all sorts of specialties. Not everybody is infantry. Not everybody is running a minesweeper or flying an aircraft. There's lots of different roles. It's a very individual thing. And so we have to seek out that guidance from above, from our Maker. Why did he make us and place us where we are at this exact moment? And, some people, I remember a great minister, Ralph Mahoney, who had a group World Map, World Missionary Assistance Plan, which is still around, and his daughter and son-in-law are running it. Fantastic folks, fantastic missionary group. And Ralph Mahoney would get people that wanted to go out and be missionaries and do work out in the field. And he'd counsel them. You know, you have young children, you have teenagers, and you need to finish with your duties that you have right now. God, you know, has, you know, maybe a mission for you ahead yet, but he wouldn't assign you to the wrong job at the wrong time until you finish these other duties. And they preferred to send people out who'd had a life and had something to offer because they'd already gone out and gotten life experience so that they could minister out in the field. So a lot of times people want to race out and do something, but they aren't really quite prepared yet, or they still have stuff at home that still needs to be dealt with. God has a very precise mission for each person that is their secret mission that fits exactly where they are in their community, where they are in their family. You know, think of Billy Bear the other day. He went into battle, wasn't fully expecting to, but he went into battle. He didn't shrink. He knew something had to be addressed. He stood up, and he held his ground, and he stood for what was right, and he pointed at the evil and brought light to it, and engaged. That's full-on battle. That's what I'm talking about here. That was going to battle. I'll talk about Butter DeZillion.
Love her. Yep.
Here's a woman who saw something wrong. She's a pastor's wife, a mom. When I talked to her today, she was doing some sheetrocking at her house. Okay. And you know what she's doing? She's moving the world. She is doing a fantastic job scanning and sifting and working through the details of one of the greatest lies ever perpetrated on modern mankind in all of our lifetimes. The Hollywood play that has been foisted upon the public that only a handful of people have seen for what it is. A lie. A big, huge, monstrous lie in living color for the whole world to see. And virtually nobody caught it. But one handmaiden of the Lord. And that was her job. That's her mission. That's her assignment. She wasn't looking for it. She probably wasn't the most qualified to undertake it, but she just so happened to be at that place at that time and took up the cause because that's what God put her on. And he might have put her on it because a guy, 10 guys, 500 people ahead of her didn't pick up and do what they were supposed to do. And God will not be thwarted. Remember that if the people hadn't done what they did when Christ came into the city, the rocks themselves would have proclaimed Hosanna in the highest, if necessary. God will find his servants to do the job. He will not be thwarted in this evil hour. So what does the battle look like? The battle isn't just only a bunch of cowboys coming up against armed troops trying to work evil against his people. There's lots of ways that we have to engage the enemy. And the reason that we're in this situation right now the way we are, it's like Nathan Leal said last night. How did we get here? It didn't happen overnight. How in the world did we get here? How did things get so screwed up? Because a lot of people didn't do anything. They expected somebody else to do everything because they're busy having a life. By design, I remember one of the things that was part of the evil plot, if you will, was that there needed to be more and more regulations, more and more taxes, so that people were working and working more and more just to keep bread on the table and a roof over their heads and to comply with everything and take care of everything that had to be done. Why? So they wouldn't have time free to see and stop what was just ahead, what these people had planned for us. Because it is a plan. We didn't get here by accident. These people that are pulling the strings behind the curtain have a very precise, surgically precise plan with options, with backups, and a design to manage us into their New World Order or into the cattle chute and off to slaughter. They're not kidding around. This isn't a game. They are deadly serious about what they have in mind, what they have planned, and where they intend to go with this. Come hell or high water, they're going to get their New World Order. Or nobody's getting anything if they have anything to say about it. It's their way or nobody gets nothing. That's the devil's attitude. And his minions. Is there anything there that you don't already feel in your heart, in your soul, in your mind? I think every listener gets it when they get serious. They know what I'm saying is absolutely correct. But to the people around them, they have a normalcy bias, and it's going to be okay, and it's all going to work out, and you're being a little bit extreme, and you don't understand. Response is, I'm not going to be another frog with you. I am out of here. I remember getting a card from a friend of mine, and it's a goose, and you see two little arms sticking out the sides of the goose's mouth and some frog legs down out the end of its beak. And the frog is being swallowed by the goose. And you know what the goose is doing? Choking. Why? Because the frog has its hands around the goose's neck trying to keep the goose from swallowing it. It's halfway down the gullet, but it's holding on to the goose's neck for all it's worth. It's not going to let the goose swallow it. You know, it may be halfway down the gullet, but it's not giving up. Don't give up. This isn't over. And this is part of my concern is that it almost, you want to talk about, it's pornographic, all this end of the world talk and destruction talk and everything. That's pornographic. You know what's pornographic? Is this agreement to let the devil tell you everything he's going to do to you before he does it and then do it and agree with that. Well, it's going to happen and it's going to be horrible and there's going to be guillotines and it's going to be the end of the world. You're when you even talk like that, not that it's not valid talk, not that it's not stuff that we have to understand is their intent, their plan, but you're giving the devil the glory. Where's the church in this? Where's God's people in this? And the devil intends to do this, and God's people are going to stand up and hold it back by standing and shining the light and saying, not here, not in my town, not on my watch, by God's might. See, that's what Liel was talking about yesterday was so important. Where is the understanding in God's people that the salvation of the country is not because of patriotism. It's not because of the flag. It's not because of the pledge. Even that is a distortion, a twisting. My country right or wrong, God bless America. Well, what's there in America for God to bless right now? What part of it do you want God to bless? Pornographic stuff in the school book that your kids are being taught? What is God supposed to bless? That the gays and homosexuals are taking over your church?
How well said. What part do we have an expectation of blessing from God? W, I think you might have either muted yourself or gone under the ice in your submarine there. I'm not sure which, but it's a pretty climatic stopping point there. As we hear him say, look, we have the battle to do, but we've got to meet the battle head on. We've got to understand too that God is not about to bless a country, a people who have embraced the pornographic, who have embraced the unrighteous, who have embraced the ungodly, who have embraced the satanic over the godly. It's something that we have to really understand, and what he said too, what W said too, about all of us being in a certain position to fight, and we're at that moment before the battle. Holy cow, we are, aren't we? Can you feel it? Can you feel where we're at right now? Can you feel the fact that the shelling has subsided? The dawn is not quite breaking. It's still dark, but the troops are moving. I mean, I certainly can. Folks, this would be a good time to take, since this is timely, it's actually the top of the hour, while we're searching for W, hoping he's all right. Oh, here we go. There we go.
Yeah.
W, I'm not sure if you could, if your phone flew out of your hand or if it was some sort of divine... But you make a good point.
Well, I hope that my point was made before we got cut off. But, think about it. Who are we picking off here? What's really going on here? And when I say go into battle, these are different things, different ways. When you're working deep cover, you're not just out there using silenced weapons to shoot bad guys. You're at the party. You're in the ministry. You're in the building. You're doing other stuff. Understand, we're in an all-out engagement here. All the chips are on the table. Only one person, one group is going to win this hand, this final hand. And they're playing to win. Are you? Or are you just sitting at the table, la, 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 la. This is not, this isn't playing around time. And it's not about salvation only of the nation. It's about salvation of the people. That's what we have to think of here right now, this moment. And that's what Nathan Leal was saying, and that's what it was so beautiful about what he was saying. He was calling people, as we hear about, a march on Washington, D.C., or all the political picnics that will be happening coming up on the election through the summer and up on the election this fall. And what was intended, getting us into Syria and rah, rah, USA. Again, for God's people, this is the moment when it's important for us to remind people that this isn't just about your nation. This is about your soul, the soul of the nation. what made America wasn't just a constitution. What made America was an alignment with God Almighty. In spite of the fact that there was people that tried to twist it off, we know that there was and other people that came in there and had their own directions they were trying to take the nation and imprints they were putting on the nation. We're clearly aware of that. There was also God's people, and that's why you have to look at the ministry of Finney and others in that exact moment when they spoke the truth. And men, even Illuminatus, were converted and understood that there was two gods vying for the soul of the nation. We're in a reenactment of that same original fight right now. And which God is going to get the soul of America?
We know who does in the end, but during this time of battle, it's going to be a rough road, and we have to be prepared for that. But and we just because
I know you get your top of the hour here. Your top of the hour here, so I don't want to intrude on that choice.
I got to tell you something. The words that you have spoken tonight are encouraging, and people needed to hear exactly that message. I've been getting emails throughout your time with us saying thank you for the encouragement, thank you for the words, and do come back again as well. I just want to appreciate answering the call and helping us out tonight by giving words of encouragement. Thank you, my brother.
Well, and if anybody out there saw Thursday, I checked in both of my main cars that I used, and I couldn't find it. I can't find the missing minutes from Friday. I don't know what happened with Thursday on Sheila Zielinski's show, and then we had some missing time already here tonight ourselves. So I get all of that. I guess it goes with the territory. But if anybody finds it, would you please put it in a bag, send it back over to Tug and Joe, and they can forward it on to me. I could use it. I really need that time back.
Oh, as we all do. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. It was great when I talked to you and you said, what day is this? I can relate, but
well, here on the station, we go around the world several times a day, so we actually, it's hard to keep count on which day we're on sometimes. You have to, okay, 1, 2, okay, wait a second. Oh, hold on. Let me start over here. Why do you got your shoes off over there? Oh, that's right. We did go around that many times today. Okay, never mind. Yeah, sometimes we have to use, Anyway.
God bless you, my friend.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the third and final hour of this Friday edition of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. We're going to be taking your phone calls at 661-244-9839. That's 661-244-9839. And we will be taking them for the rest of the show. There's an article on the Drudge Report, and I don't know if you saw this, Ted. It's about Monica Lewinsky and how Monica Lewinsky changed the media, the alternative media. And the headline on here, if it's still up here, was Drudge Killed Media.
Yes.
Just I thought that was pretty interesting, but it goes on here to say that the Clinton-Monica Lewinsky scandal, which Drudge, I think what he wrote, he got the exclusive on that, or that's how he got it.
Yeah, he broke that.
Right.
Broke that, right.
And it's interesting to see that, they're talking about this, like reporting on the truth of a matter is destroying a mechanism of their control, and openly admitting it, I guess.
Well, there's this tendency to make Drudge and other specific websites into tabloid type, like tabloids. And folks, a lot of times, I mean, you've got to understand the various intelligence agencies have operational people within some of these websites, these tabloids. As you stand at the checkout line, it was a movie, Independence Day or whatever, where they said, they referenced the tabloids like the Inquirer and stuff. They were picking up the various papers to see if something was reported. I don't recall exactly what it was, but it implied that the true information was in there first, even though, as crazy as it might sound. And really, isn't that what's happening today? And hasn't that what's happened? Because I feel abandoned. But if you look at once again, if you look at the Sunday morning radio or talk show programs, which seem to be perhaps the most prolific, you take a look at Brit Hume in the stuffy shirt, and that's, I don't mean to talk bad against Brit Hume at all, but I mean in terms of his appearance, but people look at him and they say, well, what he's saying, I mean, it's really nothing that he has said is, while I have been watching him, or Juan Williams, or I mean, you name the individual newscaster, it's all very prim and proper, and within a set of parameters that you don't exceed or go beyond those parameters. They're talking points, and when in reality, the real subjects exceed and are located far beyond the parameters to which we're confined. So, while he sounds good, for example, Brit Hume, and while he sounds logical and sensible, when you start, just ask him a question about the Obama eligibility issue. Ask him a question about we'll just stop there. I suppose that's enough. What would he say? Of course, it's poppycock. It's crazy talk. It's not dignified to talk about. And that's where we're at with Drudge and alternative media sites like ours. We can't talk about stuff. You shouldn't talk about stuff like that to be marginalized. So, look, yes. I guess what I'm saying is we have to go beyond the normal alley, the very thin line of allowed topics, and ask the more difficult questions, and accept the fact that we'll be ridiculed for daring to ask such questions. But if we don't ask them, who will? I'm not going to be shut up, but I'm going to ask the questions. If the evidence leads to a certain series of questions, then let's put them on the table and talk about them. Let's not shut them down because, someone says they're just conspiracies. No, are they really? No. They're legitimate questions that deserve legitimate, authentic, truthful answers. And we should demand those answers. So that's how I feel about it. All right,
let's go to the phones. We're going to go to area code 812. We're coming to you first. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. 812. All right. We will come back to you. We're going to go to Let's see. 909. You're up next. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hello. This is
Good evening.
909. How are you?
Very well. Where is 909? See if I can ask.
That's in San Bernardino County, Southern California.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Okay. Very good.
Well, it's such a great honor to talk to you guys. I listen to you religiously. I mean that religiously. And I just really want to thank you guys for your commitment and dedication and just the example that you're setting in this industry. It's amazing that you guys are out there doing what you're doing, and I want to thank you for that.
Well, thanks. Thanks very much. Anything on your mind in particular that you want to talk about?
These last couple of days have been amazing as far as the guests you've had, especially Bill Salas and Nathan Leo. I listened to him a few times with you guys, and it brought to mind this whole Malaysia Flight 370 and the connection to the Trident, and the whole logo on the Malaysian Airlines being a Trident, and the whole presentation of the Olympics, the whole Poseidon presentation. I don't know if you guys caught the reference to Neptune, Poseidon, and the fact that everything going on at that time had relation to the earth or the seas. And then right after that, we had the whole Ukraine incident, which on the flag of the Ukraine is the Trident. So I just wanted to share some of those connections with you guys to see, if anyone else had done any research on that.
Well, do you feel comfortable enough into explain a little bit about what you're referencing with the Trident and about the Malaysian flight one?
Well, I mean, I've done a lot of research on the flight and who was on that flight, and there's a connection to a company called Freescale, which had in one of the news articles I read some specifics on who was on that flight, okay, and what they had invented or what patents they had in relation to that company, and the connections going up all the way to the top. Basically exactly what Nathan was talking about yesterday with the 10 companies owning everything and the story being told throughout that Super Bowl. I know I kind of went off a little bit, but...
No, that's good. That's really good. And I keep going back. I think about this flight, and to me, I got to tell you, I don't believe... I believe 100% that there are people who know where this aircraft is, if this was a sleight of hand or what the deal was. But
exactly, yeah. So there's just so much going on to focus just on that, the limited time that you guys have provided to me. Just mentioning the National Enquirer, what about the stories about John Edwards that were in National Enquirer prior to that actually hitting in reality? What about that Men in Black, the movie Men in Black, and what you're referencing, I believe, was Men in Black, where they go to the National Enquirer to find out what the aliens are up to.
That's right. Thank you for clearing that up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's just great, some of the topics you guys are hitting on. I'd love to hear you guys talk to L.A. Marzulli, who's really into the fact that these aliens allegedly are really the disembodied spirits of demons reincarnated into these bodies, right? And he goes into all that. He's spoken to doctors who have found nano-sized electronics inside of people. And the whole Morgellons disease and the connections. If you've ever researched Morgellons disease, he'd be a great guest to have on there to really go into detail on how deep does this rabbit hole go. Yeah,
Joe and I talked to him a little bit at the Orlando conference, and we'll try to get him back. We'll try to get him back on. He's busier than heck, and I'm not sure. Joe,
I'm sure. I'm sure. But the guests, Bill Salas, amazing. Tom Horn, Steve Quell, all these guys, Alex+Jones. I've been, I'm 36 now, so I've been at researching and listening to you guys and trying to get involved and listening to the Bunkerville and everything going on and really understanding how deep, what the government's capable of. We are so naive to think that they don't know who we are and what we're doing and what this is really, he's so right, what Nathan was talking about yesterday, and it's just amazing that, hey, I'm not alone on an island figuring this stuff out. It's so cool that you guys are out there blasting it, out in the airwaves.
Hopefully we'll have that chance to keep doing that, Joe. Yeah. It's I really
and that's worrisome as well. And I don't know if you guys caught the White House released Twitter pic of Obama sitting on the Game of Thrones throne with Joffrey's crown on his lap and the bow and arrow sitting out on the table. I don't know if you guys caught that. That was released by the Westeros wing on Twitter the day before.
I saw that.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, wow, a king. We have ourselves a king. And the sad part is, and what breaks my heart, growing up being in class when the Challenger crashed and hearing our President Reagan talk about, just what he talked about, and that experience as, a 10-year-old kid, or whenever that was, to where we are today, to what we're seeing today. And we are all guilty of it. But if you guys could talk more about what we can do about it, what can I do working full-time with the family with no free time, besides paying the bills and keeping everything spinning, what can we do, And so, I'd love to hear more about what can be done, what hope is there, do we have, we have our hope in the Lord, and I'm getting mixed messages about, what is the plan? If you can't go in the desert because the wolves are there, and you can't go in the mountains because the lions are there, and you don't have any time, I think a lot of Americans must be feeling, the people that are coming to the realization that everything they've known ever since 1963 has been a lie. Everything that's taken over and taken control, Kissinger, Brzezinski, what's happened? The technotronic era is here, and we are stuck, And so, I just want to share that with you guys. I support you guys 100%, and it's just keep going strong. I pray for you guys every night that for your safety, for your guys' father-son relationship. What a great example. Like iron sharpens iron, so the Lord sharpens each other. So praise the Lord. God bless you guys. Amazing.
Wow, what a fantastic call. Thank you so much for your call.
God bless you too.
Yeah, and
God bless you guys.
All right, buddy. We're going to try to answer. I'm going to try to address the off air. I'm going to try to address the what can we do part, because I understand that. People talk, Joe. People talk about the stress of the president or the Secretary of State or these people, the stress that these people are under. Okay, and the way I look at it is this: no, stress is being a single mother, a single father, or even a married couple with 4 or 5 children, 2 children, or whatever. 2 mortgage payments, a car payment, or just 2 jobs or 3 jobs among the 2 people, 4 jobs even, trying to make it from day to day, wondering. Stress is trying not to lose your house. Stress is trying to not to have your car repoed. Stress is trying to make sure that your children are well fed and well clothed. That's stress. Stress to me, among the others, like the presidents and the rulers, no, their stress is shared among the people who prop them up and help them and are there at their beck and call. Obama sneezes, there's a doctor right there. Your child has 104 fever, you've got to hunt for a doctor. That's stress. So, but what can we do? What can we do? Because we're straddled with the limitations. It's a matter of life. I mean, my goodness, go to the store, you buy a gallon of milk, you buy a couple of pounds of 90% lean ground beef, you buy a thing of coffee, some foil, garbage bags, and pretty soon you walk out of there with 1 bag you're carrying.
Yeah,
it's $50, $60. Yep,
it's getting a bit ridiculous.
That's stress, by the way.
Yeah, they used. I remember a few years ago seeing ads on TV, even before the 2008 economic crisis, where they had commercials of old people having to choose between food and medication, and now imagine how much worse this has gotten. We have a currency that has basically been destroyed and inflated so much that we haven't even begun to see a hint of how bad things really are, and how much they've destroyed it through taking away the gold standard and printing the money. And when that hits, and if and when the dollar is taken off as the world reserve currency, think of, what we say from my research, prices instantly of everything double at least, if not triple.
Yeah.
Think of the anger and the rage that will go through people's minds and what the consequences of that could be. We can go from a civilized, wealthy country that has an abundance of things to an angry, poor, and evil people based on how invested in the world systems we are or not.
Well, to answer that gentleman's question, I really believe that what we can do, even straddled by working 16 hours a day, believe me, if you don't think we work 16 hours a day. Our days are 16 hours, and we do work weekends and we do work holidays, and we do travel. We do a lot. But one thing we can do, and I believe that we must do, and I think we have the ability to do regardless of our schedule, because unless you work, at home in your pajamas at a computer all day long, and even then you have the ability to reach out and to talk with others at some point. You've got to be able to talk with your neighbors. Now's the time, I believe. Something productive is to see which neighbors you can get on board, which family members you can. If you've already tried that, I understand. Then widen the circle and try to educate as many people as possible, because I really think Alex+Jones, for example, InfoWars, that's what we're in. We're in an information war. We're in a propaganda war. To see, for example, the people, and we've played the clips, the various audio clips over and over, to see the outright lies that are being told to us. And these people have a straight face, and we're supposed to believe their lies. That this is an information war, and they'll sit there and say the sky is purple or black, or I don't know, or it's snowing in Miami Beach, and I'm talking about the snow from the clouds, not with a straight face, they'll say this. We have to counter that, and we have to counter that through take a little bit of time as you can to copy programs, whether it's Rick Wiles or Jones or whoever that you might at best relate to. Even our program, copy them on CDs, give them out, listen to them yourself, MP3s or however, whatever the mode of exchange might be. Again, there will be a point, I believe, that we're not going to be able to be as free with our words, at least not on the internet. And we have to get the word out as soon as possible, as quickly as possible. That's just my 2 cents or 4 cents or $1. You're muted now.
Yeah, let's go back.
It's my turn.
Let's go back to the phones. We're going to go to area code 304. 304, we're coming to you next. You're live on the Hagmann Report.
Hey, Doug and Joe. This is Phil from West Virginia. Nice to talk to you guys again.
Hey, Phil.
You guys have just had some amazing shows recently. People are they are waking up, I do believe. But we have to understand that we are in the midst of the battle, even as we speak. And the war with the saints is what you guys talk about a lot. They have, right now, they're on the winning side, or so to speak. They have power over us. for the time, but that time is fading very fast. And
they realize that. And they realize that their days are numbered.
The message I want to tell them is that they better watch out, because there's an army up above them that's ready to come down here, and we're going to end it. We're going to end the game. We're going to end all of it. And the angels that we put in a pit, how many years ago, they're still in a pit. And they don't get out unless we let them out. But that's just a message to the rest of them that that's where they're going to end up. They're going to end up in a pit. And you're going there really fast. And that's all I have to say. I mean, God bless you guys. Thank you for letting me on the air. But
Phil, I love your passion, buddy.
Understand that. This is not a game. The war is almost done.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have nothing to be afraid of. Don't be afraid of somebody that can take your life. Be afraid of the one that can take your soul. And if your name is written in the Lamb's Book of Life, then don't worry about it.
Amen,
Absolutely.
brother. Just go out and do what you got to do, knowing that your name is etched in the Book of Life. And that's what we need to do, brother. Love your passion.
Well,
Thank
you guys are doing a great job. Just let me say that one more time. Just I love you guys. I love everybody, and your guests and everyone. I mean, my God, we're at the precipice. We're here.
Yes, we are.
And
yes, we are.
The army in heaven. And when I was talking to my mom, I know more of them up there. I'm getting older now, but I have more friends up there than I have down here, it seems like.
I'm right there with you, my friend. I get that. I get that.
But they're ready. They're ready.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, that's my spirit. I feel it.
And you made a good point, Phil, too. The guests that we have had the pleasure of bringing on, and even the appearance of W tonight, to me, these people are giving up their time, and they're not getting paid. We don't pay people to appear on our show. It just doesn't happen. But they're doing it for the love of their fellow man and their realization that the reward is not going to be on earth, but certainly in heaven. And that's it, man.
I mean, you're right there on the battle lines. I'm telling you, we are at war. We are at war. So you just keep warring, man.
All right, brother. We're going to do that, and you do the same. The
angel of the Lord is with us, and I'll tell you what, you don't want to mess around with the angel of the Lord. I can tell you that. He don't mess around.
Smack down. No, you're absolutely right.
I don't care who you are. All right, guys. Have a good night. Thank you.
All right, man. Take care.
All right.
So, some very good points there, and we, please keep our guests in prayer, especially Robert Tosh Plumley in prayer. Keep him in prayer as well. He's there are a lot of things that are going on there, and just keep in your prayers.
Yeah, absolutely. 856, we're coming to you now. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
That's you.
856. All right. 408. We're coming to you now. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. All right. Let's see. 936. We just 936. We're coming to you. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Doug and Joe.
Good evening.
Mike and the Big Bigot. How are you?
Hey, Mike. Very well. And you?
Oh, doing fine, sir. Just wanted to mention to people, we're just being bombarded health-wise out here. That, they are killing people left and right. And things that you ought to research would be like a zapper. It's called a ZAPPER. And it was invented by a guy named Royal Reif, a German, who was the first to invent a microscope that you could look at living tissue. And he did a lot of experimentation, with his microscope and found that an alternating frequency of 15 hertz would wipe out all pathogens in the body. This little device called a zapper can be strapped on someone and cure them of things like hepatitis C and AIDS and a host of other problems. I've used it on an abscessed tooth before and had great results.
No, wait a second. What we call her? Is it zapper, like with a Z, or like with a V like Victor, or a Z like zebra?
Z like zebra, APPER.
All right.
APPER. Yeah. And these things are available on the internet for about $130, and there's true science behind it. It's just been terribly withheld. Another thing that people can do is they've known since the Civil War that North Pole negative magnetism on your body is extremely helpful. We've all got all this calcium caught up in between our joints and so forth, and even I've run into a lot of guys. I work construction and so forth where they can't hardly get down on their knees. You can hear the solids popping and cracking, and young men. And I don't do that because I sleep on magnets, and it keeps my joints, clear. But what it does is a calcium molecule looks like a burr under a microscope until you expose it to North Pole negative magnetism. Then it folds it up into something that looks more like a seed. And I learned about this stuff through shortwave radio. There used to be a guy named Lou Lyons that did a shortwave show, back in the days of Bill Cooper and so forth. And they have a website called lionlegacy.com where you can buy those kind of things. But they use it on like race horses. This technology's been around forever, and people don't have it used, availed to them. They're going to these doctors out here who aren't even Americans, and it just makes me sick. Makes me sick, the medical industry and how people are led. The big pharmaceutical companies are out to kill you. Believe that.
Oh, yeah.
Half the stuff that you're taking is fluoride, okay? Fluoride is a nerve toxin. It used to be used against rats. It was rat poison. And it was this waste product of the aluminum industry. And the friggin' Nazis, discovered this, that it dumbs people down and makes them take orders very well. That's why they got it packed in your toothpaste and every place else they can think of putting it. Well, anyway, that's my rant for this evening.
All right. Well, thank you,
hey,
sir. Thank you very much, Mike. God bless, man. Interesting, and we will look into that. And, of course, Dr. Robin Falkov, very interested, very intelligent woman in the alternative holistic healthcare industry. She's got some information that very, very good information about how the healthcare industry is turning you into a zombie, and of course what we can do naturally, homeopathically. Interesting. All right.
We're going to try to go back to caller from 407. That was silent. 407, we're coming back to you now. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hey, Doug and Joe. Good to hear you guys again.
Yeah, nice to hear you as well.
Yeah. Hey, listen, man, last night's show and tonight's really just something, especially when, Nathan started to get into it last night. I really felt it was like this turning point. I've listened to you guys for like 7 months now, and it's just something when he was talking about that, these are things that, God had kind of been speaking to me about. And, there was a scripture going over in my head last night when he was talking, about the weapons of our warfare. They're not carnal, and it's something that you talked about this kind of exposing of this wrong information. And, I watch Alex+Jones. I think he's great. But I have to commend you guys for what you're doing, something that he's not, I believe, doing to the fullest, and that's giving people like Nathan Leal and these people like W tonight and these other people 3 hours to talk, to really kind of get to the place that they want to arrive at. It wasn't really till the end of the show last night when Nathan really started, I felt, hitting on all cylinders and really making sense. And, I think you guys know me. I called in once or twice before a little while ago, and I was an adjunct professor. I taught media studies at a university up in New York. And, one thing being a Christian, we have no idea the level of corruption that's in the media. They really want us to play by their rules. If they can, a great example is the Bundy situation. As soon as I saw, the Times interviewing him, and as soon as it was all downhill after that, because we can't play on their turf. We don't think like they do. They're incredibly ruthless. They're incredibly manipulative. They have everything. They have an agenda planned out, and then they'll do everything to spin it to get to that point. And we look at it. We look at, like you said, this negative information. We see it. We get angry. Like your callers tonight. Some of your callers tonight were great. We're very honest people. Because of what the Lord has done to us, we don't think like they think. We're honest. We kind of esteem people. We want to see the best in the situation. That's not how they think. Theirs is how can I manipulate this situation, for the end game. It's funny you brought up Monica Lewinsky. I was working in Manhattan. I used to hang out with people that were reporters and stuff like this. And I'll never forget a conversation when this whole Monica Lewinsky thing went down. I was talking to this guy who was on the street outside NBC Studios. And I said to the guy, wow, what the story leaking, what a big deal. I don't know if it was drudge or not, like you guys said, maybe it was, but this guy looked at me and he goes, you don't get it, do you? He said, they leaked this. He said, this whole China thing was creeping up on them. All the deals they were making, the selling of, secrets and stuff to China, and it was about to be broken. And what they did is they actually decidedly leaked this Lewinsky thing. They knew that people can't get enough of this sexual stuff, and it did. It diffused the whole other situation and just kept people it took them, all the dogs, down a different path. And this is how much control they have over the media. So I'm just really commending you guys. I think what your show gives, and it's like what Mr. Leal said last night was. We know what the solution is. God is our solution. And it's not like we don't have to fight, but we don't want to get caught up on their, we don't want to have them provoke us into fighting on their turf. You know what I mean? And I think that's what your guest was talking about last night and tonight. You don't hear anywhere else, guys. It's incredible. I mean, you don't hear people telling you exactly, like what W said tonight. I was blown away. I mean, it's exactly what I've been feeling in my spirit, that, we're in this breath. We're in this kind of exhale right before the plunge, and it's, if we weren't getting this information that you guys are providing, I checked out your new website. I like your website a lot, but I just hope that you guys, as more and more as God uses you, I'm going to pray that you guys can remain. It's hard because you're going to want to probably play more and more. I mean, you're getting these great guests and this and that, but just to encourage you, the thing that's awesome about your show is that you're not like them. You know what I mean? If you expose, the wrong information, like in this information war, if you expose that without a solution, then it just brings people to anger, and you're not doing that. You're actually providing the solution, and, you're the only place out there that I know is doing that. So that's it. Just wanted to tell you guys congratulations. And
well, thank you, Professor. Look, I've got to tell you that yes, I totally agree with you. We need to not only identify the problem, but provide the solution or a series of solutions, but solutions that will be suitable for the listeners, depending on your station in life. And we can't. We don't know what your situation is. Not yours specifically, but people's situations are. So it's difficult for us to really provide any answers, but we can provide general direction. And I think that we we've got to keep that line open. And we don't want to.
Well, you're certainly doing it. Last night was incredible. So like the caller who called in a couple of minutes ago and said, here he is. I'm in the same situation. I'm a single parent. I have 2 teenage kids. This and that, but God's firmly convinced me that my prayer and me bringing things before Him is not, it's not without, it's not without accomplishing anything. You know what I'm saying? The world would look at that as, oh, you're just kind of like, if that's where I'm at, then I can embrace that for right now until something else. You know what I mean? But that's, that scripture, like I said, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in God, right? So we have to remember that, and it's contrary to the carnal man and the natural way of thinking. But that's what I think Mr. Leal last night was hitting on, which was, so many people, you turn on every show, everything, and they're all like, this get up in arms and get up in this and this and that. And really, so much of what they're doing is they're trying to provoke us just to play on their turf. And especially in the media. Oh, my God. My heart went out to Mr. Bundy when I just saw him being dragged into their, once he was dragged into their arena, it was because the wolves were out, right? I mean, everybody turned on him and everything else, and the scriptures say that we have to be wise as serpents and gentle as doves. So we have to know, God doesn't want us to be fools. We have to know, and we have to watch when we're being pulled into that, and we have to be smart enough to stay out of it. And you guys do it. Your show does it. So just commending you and thanking you for what you're doing, and just letting you guys know you're right on track.
Professor, thank you so much for the words of kind words and advice that was intertwined in there, which we will indeed maintain and adhere to. So thank you so much. God bless you, my friend. Thanks for the call.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
Very, very good.
Have a great one.
Yeah. And with the website, what we're attempting to do is just to get more information without the clutter and get it out there in pure form. That's all, and get it out there quicker. It's just been an uphill battle, and you know how it goes. But we've also been trying to improve the quality of the information. We're trying to improve the quality of everything. From like I said, I'm excited about this app that is being done for us. I'm excited about all of this. So we're going to keep pushing on, moving forward, and engaging the enemy for sure.
Mm-hmm. This from an article from today. Pope urges legitimate redistribution of wealth. Pope Francis called Friday for governments to redistribute wealth and benefits to the poor in a new spirit of generosity to help curb economy of exclusion that is taking hold today. Francis made the appeal during a speech to the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and the heads of major UN agencies who met in Rome this week. I have no problem with him asking for people to be more charitable. But that allegiance with the United Nations,
redistribution of wealth. What's another word for that?
No, I understand socialism, but right. I understand forced charity is not charity. That's, a tyrannical, authoritarian type system. What I'm saying is I don't know how he meant for that to be interpreted.
I don't know how you can consider that ambiguous if you're saying a legitimate redistribution of wealth is just that.
As I said, with the UN, we can get an idea of what he means, but the charity part, it never hurts to be charitable.
Yeah, exactly. I was reminded by two things before the end of the program. I was reminded what W was talking about. For those new listeners, he mentioned Butter Zillion. That is the internet name of a researcher. She's a great researcher. She's got Butter Zillion blog. You can search on our website for her blog link. I'll say this, the Fuddy plane landing where Fuddy reportedly died, and her assessment, the things that she has caught, the effort that she's been making, and she's been doing this on, in between having to do certain things at her home and being a mother and a wife and so on. She's doing some great work, and I'm just astounded by her level of acute research. So keep your eyes closely on that. We're going to have more information coming forward on that. And also on Sunday, Joe, let me just remind everybody, on Sunday, Pastor David Langford and Steve Quayle, we're going to be on. I talked to Steve this morning, and let me just find the title, because I saw the title and I thought, wow, it's a fantastic title for Sunday's show. Let me just, I'll go ahead, Joe, while I'm looking for it.
All right. Next week, starting actually Sunday, we have Steve and Pastor Langford coming on. Stan Tuesday. We have Doc Marquis Wednesday, Paul McGuire Thursday, and possibly Greg Jackson Monday or Friday, or if not, the following week. We're lining up some guests for the following week. As I said, we're trying to get the calendar booked up until we depart for the conference in Montana, which is going to be fantastic, and that is the, oh goodness, what was the name? The White, I never get
the Whitestone Conference.
Whitestone Conference. I've looked at the ad a million times. I still don't remember the name. But it's going to be a fantastic event. Really looking forward to that.
Okay.
Never been out west, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I've been to California, at least. Let me just say, I stepped foot into California for a while. I had a conference actually in Las Vegas and traveled to the desert and ended up in, I think I made a wrong turn. I think that's how I ended up in California. But nonetheless, so being in Montana is going to be kind of fun. Looking forward to meeting everyone going to the conference. And yes, there will be DVDs made available, or DVDs, made available for those who will not be able to attend. I'm very excited about that. Now, Pastor David Langford and Steve Quayle on Sunday, they're going to be talking about really breaking all the boundaries. The foundations have been destroyed. Our foundations have been destroyed. Lawlessness and lies rule the day, as every day the end of the age players work their evil to destroy the faith, family, and even the boundaries of Adam's seed and the lineage as the destroyer goes about his grisly tasks. That's not the title, but the general topic of information. So, what kind of title would, trying to work that into a title. wordsmith that into the title. But that's what we're going to be talking about. So very timely, I believe, and that's it's really ordained by God. So
absolutely. With that, we're going to close the program.
Yes, we're up against a close.
Yep. Sunday night, 8 p.m., Pastor Langford